Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and looked at the huge alien ship coming toward them. The ship was 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built, or at least that was what the aliens thought. Jake had been dealing with these Zephyrian bullies for 3 long years, and he was getting very tired of their attitude. The Zephyrians thought they were the strongest military power in the entire galaxy. They had big purple ships with strange glowing weapons, and they loved to show off their psychic powers. Every time they met humans, they would push their thoughts into human minds and try to make them feel scared and weak. It worked on most other alien species, but Jake had learned to hide how much it really bothered him. Captain Lisa Hayes walked over to Jake and handed him a data pad with the latest message from the Zephyrian fleet. Her face looked tired and angry, which was how most human diplomats looked these days. For 3 years, she had been trying to make peace with alien species who treated humans like annoying children who didn't know their place. "They're demanding we leave the Kepler sector completely," Lisa said in a quiet voice so the alien sensors wouldn't pick it up. "Admiral Kethvar says if we don't pack up and go home, they'll teach us what happens to weak species who don't follow orders." Jake read the message and felt his jaw get tight with anger. The Kepler sector had been empty when humans found it. There were no alien settlements, no mining operations, and no territorial claims. But as soon as human colonies started doing well there, suddenly every major alien power decided they had ancient rights to the area. The Galactic Council had made their position very clear from the first day humans joined. Earth was a junior species, which meant they were barely worth talking to. The Zephyrians could fly their ships through human space whenever they wanted. The crystal-like Vorthak Empire could take human mining equipment and call it inspection fees. The fish-like Nerid Collective could board human ships and steal cargo, while calling it customs enforcement. Every time something like this happened, human ambassadors would file complaints with the Galactic Council. The aliens would make fake apologies and promise to look into it, but nothing ever changed. If anything, the harassment got worse as more alien species realized that humans wouldn't fight back. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the enemy fleet approaching their position. 47 heavy cruisers, 12 massive dreadnoughts, and 1 enormous flagship carrier that could probably destroy a small moon. The Zephyrian fleet was arranged in their favorite intimidation formation, which was designed to make enemies surrender without fighting. Lieutenant Amy Foster, the ship's communication officer, looked up from her console with a worried expression. "Commander, they're broadcasting on all frequencies now. Admiral Kethvar wants to talk to you directly." The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship. Admiral Kethvar was a tall, purple-skinned alien with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. He wore fancy military decorations that showed how many species he had conquered, and his psychic presence felt like a heavy weight pressing down on everyone's mind. "Pathetic human creature," Kethvar said in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "You will witness the power that has destroyed 47 star systems and enslaved countless inferior species. Your kind has been tolerated long enough. Surrender your illegal settlements in the Kepler sector immediately, or we will provide you with educational consequences." Jake had heard this same speech dozens of times from different alien commanders. They all used the same threats, the same intimidation tactics, and the same assumption that humans were too weak and primitive to fight back. The aliens had studied human technology and decided that fusion drives and kinetic weapons were no match for their advanced systems. "Admiral Kethvar," Jake replied in the most polite voice he could manage, "Earth Command has repeatedly stated that human settlements in the Kepler sector are completely legal under galactic law. We have filed all proper territorial claims and followed every required procedure." The Zephyrian admiral laughed, a sound that made several bridge crew members wince. "Human laws mean nothing. Galactic law is decided by those with the power to enforce it, and you have no power. Your primitive ships are toys compared to our fleet. Your weapons cannot penetrate our psychic shields. Your minds are weak and easily controlled." This was the part that Jake hated most about dealing with aliens. They would insult humanity, threaten human colonies, and act like Earth was some backward planet full of savages. The worst part was that humans had to pretend to agree with them. Captain Lisa Hayes stepped forward and tried once more to find a diplomatic solution. "Admiral, surely we can reach some kind of agreement that benefits both our species. The Kepler sector is large enough for multiple colonies, and human settlements could provide valuable trade opportunities." "There will be no negotiation," Kethvar responded immediately. You have 1 hour to begin evacuation procedures, or my fleet will demonstrate why the Zephyrian Empire rules this part of the galaxy. We have destroyed entire civilizations for less disrespect than you have shown. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Jake looked around at his crew and saw the same frustration and anger on every face. These were good people who had joined the Space Navy to explore new worlds and protect Earth's interests. Instead, they spent their time being insulted by aliens who treated them like garbage. Lieutenant Tom Wilson, the tactical officer, spoke up from his station. "Commander, should I signal the fleet to retreat to the edge of the system?" Standard diplomatic protocol suggests we avoid direct confrontation. Jake was quiet for a long moment, thinking about all the times humans had followed standard diplomatic protocol. They had retreated, apologized, paid fines, and accepted insults, all in the name of keeping peace with stronger alien powers. It never worked. The aliens just saw it as proof that humans were weak and could be pushed around even more. He walked over to the secure communication console and opened a direct channel to Earth Command. The signal would take several minutes to reach Admiral Peterson back on Earth, but Jake knew what her response would be. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. "Admiral Peterson, this is Commander Morrison aboard the UES Liberty in the Kepler sector. The Zephyrian Empire has issued an ultimatum demanding complete human withdrawal from legally claimed territory. They have given us 1 hour before beginning hostile action against civilian colonies." Jake paused and looked out at the alien fleet that was now moving into attack formation. "Ma'am, I am formally requesting permission to implement Protocol 7. Admiral Karen Peterson sat in the deep underground war room beneath Colorado Springs and stared at the massive displays showing the real truth about human military power. For 3 years, she had watched alien species push humanity around while keeping the biggest secret in galactic history. The time for secrets was finally over. The war room was filled with officers who had been living double lives for years. They attended diplomatic meetings where they pretended to be weak and helpless, then came back to bases hidden deep underground or in empty space to work on weapons that could destroy entire alien fleets. Every human in the room knew that today would change everything. Colonel Ryan Brooks walked over to Peterson's command chair carrying a thick folder of classified files. He had been running humanity's deception program since first contact with alien species, and his team had done their job perfectly. The aliens thought they knew everything about human technology, but they had never seen anything real. "Admiral, we just received Commander Morrison's request for Protocol 7, Brooks said quietly. "The Zephyrian fleet is demanding complete withdrawal from the Kepler sector within 1 hour. If we authorize Protocol 7, there's no going back to the diplomatic approach." Peterson looked at the tactical displays showing the Zephyrian fleet positioning itself to attack human colonies. 47 heavy cruisers and 12 dreadnoughts, all equipped with weapons that could level entire cities. 3 years ago, that fleet would have been unstoppable. Today, it was just another test of human technology. "Show me the real numbers, Colonel." Brooks activated his secure terminal and pulled up files that were classified above top secret. The displays around the room suddenly showed the truth that no alien species had ever suspected. Hidden shipyards on the dark side of Mars had been producing vessels using technology decades ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. Research stations scattered throughout human space were actually massive weapon platforms disguised as scientific facilities. Lieutenant Amy Foster from the Intelligence Division stepped forward with her own classified reports. "Ma'am, our deep space monitoring network has been tracking every major alien fleet movement for 2 years. We know their patrol routes, their supply lines, and their communication codes. The Zephyrians have no idea that we've been listening to every tactical discussion they've ever had." The intelligence reports were incredible. While aliens thought humans were struggling to understand basic galactic technology, human scientists had been reverse engineering captured alien equipment and improving it. Every alien ship that had ever entered human space had been secretly scanned by sensors far more advanced than anything the galactic community possessed. Dr. Helen Carter, the lead scientist for humanity's secret weapons program, activated a holographic display that showed technical specifications for human military technology. "Admiral, our quantum phase engines can move ships faster than anything in the known galaxy. Our gravitational manipulation systems can create artificial black holes or disable enemy vessels without destroying them. The dark matter weaponization project has produced devices that can phase through any known shield technology. Peterson studied the technical data and felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Humanity had been forced to develop these weapons by alien species who refused to treat them with basic respect. If the galactic powers had simply accepted humans as equals, none of this would have been necessary. Captain Dan Miller, who commanded one of humanity's hidden stealth destroyers, provided an update on fleet positions. "Ma'am, we have 37 vessels in the Kepler sector area, all running full camouflage systems. The aliens think they're facing one outdated cruiser and maybe some cargo ships. They have no idea that we've got enough firepower in that system to take out their entire battle group." The stealth technology was one of humanity's greatest achievements. While aliens relied on energy shields and heavy armor, humans had developed phase shift generators that could make entire ships exist slightly outside normal space. Enemy weapons would pass right through them while human weapons could still affect normal matter. Lieutenant Commander Beth Walsh, the tactical systems expert, brought up another classified file. "Admiral, we've identified critical weaknesses in every major galactic power. The Zephyrian psychic shields operate on specific frequency patterns that we can disrupt. The Vorthak Empire's crystal armor has harmonic vulnerabilities that our sonic weapons can exploit. The Nereid Collective's bioships are susceptible to synthetic viruses we developed specifically for their organic technology." This was the part of the program that Peterson was most proud of. While aliens had been studying what they thought was human technology, humans had been studying real alien technology and finding ways to defeat it. Every diplomatic incident, every time aliens had harassed human ships or stolen human equipment, had been an opportunity to gather intelligence. Dr. Robert Hayes from the Xenobiology Department activated his workstation and showed genetic analysis of every known alien species. "Ma'am, we've been collecting biological samples from every species we've encountered. We know their immune systems, their psychological profiles, and their physical limitations. If necessary, we could deploy biological weapons specifically designed for each species, but I recommend we avoid that option unless absolutely necessary." Peterson nodded agreement. Biological weapons were too dangerous and too permanent. Humanity wanted to establish its position as a galactic power, not commit genocide against species who had simply made the mistake of underestimating them. The secure communication system chimed with an incoming message from the Kepler sector. Commander Morrison's face appeared on the main screen, and Peterson could see the determination in his eyes. Behind him, the bridge crew of the UES Liberty was busy preparing for whatever came next. "Admiral Peterson, the Zephyrian fleet is now in attack formation. Admiral Kethvar has refused all attempts at negotiation and is demanding immediate surrender. They're threatening to begin bombardment of civilian colonies in 45 minutes. Peterson looked around the war room at all the officers who had been keeping humanity's secrets for years. These people had sacrificed normal military careers to work in hidden facilities, developing weapons they hoped would never be used. They had watched alien species insult and threaten humanity, while knowing they could destroy any alien fleet in the galaxy. Colonel Brooks, transmit authorization codes for Protocol 7 to all fleet commanders in the Kepler sector. Dr. Carter, activate all hidden weapon platforms and remove their camouflage systems. Lieutenant Foster, begin broadcasting our real fleet positions to every monitoring station in the galaxy." The room became busy with activity as officers began implementing orders that would reveal humanity's true power to the galaxy. Hidden bases throughout human space began powering up weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. Stealth ships dropped their camouflage and appeared on sensors like ghosts becoming solid. "Commander Morrison," Peterson said into the communication system, "you are authorized to demonstrate to the Zephyrian Empire exactly what humans are capable of when we stop being polite. Show them what happens when they push too far." Commander Jake Morrison watched the Zephyrian fleet arrange itself into their traditional attack formation and felt something he had not experienced in 3 years of dealing with alien bullies. For the first time since humans joined the galactic community, he was not afraid of what was about to happen. The authorization from Admiral Peterson had changed everything, and now the aliens were about to learn what humans were really capable of. Admiral Kethvar was broadcasting his final threats on all communication frequencies, his psychic presence pressing against human minds like a crushing weight. "Pathetic humans, you have ignored our generous offer of mercy. Now you will witness the power that has conquered 47 star systems. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our advanced shields. Your weak minds will break under our psychic assault. Prepare to become another lesson for species who do not know their place. Jake opened a response channel and spoke in the calmest voice he could manage. Admiral Kethvar, this is Commander Morrison. We appreciate your demonstration of Zephyrian military doctrine, but we have our own presentation to share. I think you will find it educational. The first surprise came when 30 locations throughout the star system suddenly began transmitting activation codes. What the aliens had assumed were asteroid mining platforms and research stations started unfolding into massive weapon arrays. Gravitational lances that had been disguised as mineral extraction equipment locked onto Zephyrian ships with targeting precision that should have been impossible for human technology. Captain Dan Miller, commanding the stealth destroyer Shadow Strike, dropped his ship's camouflage system just 2 kilometers from the Zephyrian flagship. The Shadow Strike had been following the alien fleet for 6 hours, completely invisible to their sensors. Unknown vessel, you are now within range of quantum torpedoes. Your psychic shields will not protect you from quantum-entangled explosive devices. The Zephyrian response was exactly what human intelligence had predicted. Admiral Kethvar immediately ordered his entire fleet to open fire with their most powerful weapons. Purple energy beams that could melt through battleship armor struck human ships from dozens of different angles. The aliens expected to see human vessels explode into debris clouds like so many other species had before them. Instead, the devastating psi-cannon beams passed harmlessly through human ships as if they were firing at ghosts. The phase shift generators that Dr. Carter's team had spent years perfecting made human vessels exist slightly outside normal space-time. Enemy weapons could not affect them, but human weapons could still strike targets in normal space. Lieutenant Commander Beth Walsh reported from her tactical station aboard the UES Liberty. Enemy shields are fluctuating at exactly the frequency patterns we predicted. Initiating harmonic disruption sequence. All vessels, you are cleared to engage with full weapon systems. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Zephyrian ships that had never been defeated in centuries of warfare found themselves completely helpless against an enemy they had dismissed as primitive and weak. Their psychic intimidation techniques failed against humans wearing neural-dampening field generators. Their energy weapons could not touch ships that existed in phase-shifted space. Their tactical formations, unchanged for generations, were perfectly countered by an enemy who had been studying them for years. Human gravitational weapons created localized space distortions that crushed Zephyrian hulls like empty cans. Dark matter torpedoes phased through alien shields and exploded inside enemy ships, causing damage that their repair systems could not handle. Sonic disruptors found the exact frequency needed to shatter Zephyrian psychic amplifiers, leaving their crews defenseless and confused. Admiral Kethvar tried desperately to rally his fleet, but nothing worked the way it was supposed to. His flagship's main weapon systems failed when human hackers, who had been monitoring alien communication codes for months, sent false shutdown commands through his own tactical network. His psychic commands to other ships were blocked by jamming frequencies that humans had developed after studying captured Zephyrian prisoners. Captain Lisa Hayes, watching the tactical display from the UES Liberty's bridge, could hardly believe how quickly the battle was ending. Jake, their entire formation is collapsing. Half their ships are trying to retreat, and the other half don't seem to know what they're supposed to be shooting at. The Zephyrian fleet, which had entered the system expecting an easy victory against helpless humans, was being systematically destroyed by weapons they did not understand and could not defend against. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were reduced to drifting hulks in less than 15 minutes of actual combat. Lieutenant Tom Wilson monitored communications from the alien fleet and reported increasing panic in their transmissions. Commander, they're requesting immediate assistance from Zephyrian High Command. Admiral Kethvar is claiming that humans have violated galactic law by using prohibited weapon technologies. Jake almost laughed at the irony. For 3 years, aliens had violated every agreement they had made with humanity, while claiming that galactic law supported their actions. Now that humans were winning, suddenly the same aliens were concerned about following rules and regulations. Lieutenant Wilson, please inform Admiral Kethvar that human weapon systems are completely within galactic law. Every technology we are using was developed from principles that alien species taught us, through their various harassment activities. This was technically true, though not in the way the aliens would understand it. Human scientists had indeed learned from alien technology, but they had improved it far beyond anything the original creators had imagined possible. The gravitational weapons were based on Vorthak mining equipment that aliens had abandoned in human space. The phase shift generators used principles discovered by studying Nereid bioship camouflage systems. The quantum torpedoes incorporated technology from dozens of different species. The battle ended when Admiral Kethvar's flagship suffered a complete power failure after human cyber warfare specialists shut down its main reactor using backdoors they had discovered in Zephyrian computer systems. The remaining alien ships, seeing their commander's vessel dead in space, began broadcasting surrender requests on all frequencies. Jake opened a galaxy-wide communication channel that would reach every monitoring station and listening post in known space. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Navy. Consider this a formal notice to all galactic powers. Humanity is withdrawing from diplomatic negotiations effective immediately." The message continued as Jake looked out at the drifting wreckage of what had once been the galaxy's most feared battle fleet. "For 3 years, we have attempted to establish peaceful relationships with alien species through proper diplomatic channels. We have followed galactic law, respected territorial boundaries, and responded to aggression with restraint and patience. This approach has been interpreted as weakness by species who believe that might makes right. Therefore, humanity is adopting a new policy regarding interstellar relations. We tried being polite and respectful. Apparently, the galaxy prefers a more direct approach to international communication." The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within 6 hours of the Zephyrian fleet's complete destruction. Representatives from over 200 species gathered in the massive chamber that orbited the galactic core, their translator devices buzzing with panicked conversations in dozens of languages. Never before had a galactic superpower been so thoroughly defeated by a species that everyone considered weak and primitive. High Counselor Vex Prime of the Vorthak Empire stood at his crystalline podium, his normally calm blue light pulsing with angry red flashes. "This is impossible. Our intelligence networks have monitored human space for 3 years. They possess no technology capable of such destruction. Their ships use primitive fusion drives and basic kinetic weapons. There must be some explanation for this deception." Fleet Marshal Torix of the Nereid Collective disagreed, his biomechanical voice carrying undertones of fear that his species rarely displayed. "Perhaps we have greatly underestimated their ability to hide their true capabilities. The tactical recordings from Admiral Kethvar's flagship show weapons that appear to violate known physics. Human vessels phase-shifted through solid matter, while their weapons remained effective against normal space. The holographic displays around the chamber showed recorded footage from the battle, and every species representative watched in growing horror. Zephyrian ships that had conquered half the galaxy were being disabled by weapons that seemed to ignore their shields completely. Human vessels appeared from nowhere with technology that made no sense according to current scientific understanding. The coordination between human forces suggested intelligence and communication capabilities far beyond what anyone had suspected. Ambassador Neil Carter entered the council chamber with a completely different attitude than any human representative had ever displayed before. Gone was the apologetic tone and submissive posture that the council had grown used to over 3 years of diplomatic meetings. Neil walked with confidence and spoke with authority that made many alien representatives uncomfortable. "Honored counselors," Neil began, his voice carrying clearly across the vast chamber without any electronic amplification. "I bring formal greetings from Earth. Command an official notification of significant policy changes in human interstellar relations." Counselor Zethmore of the Aquatic Tribunal interrupted with typical alien arrogance. "Human representative, you will explain this unprovoked attack on Zephyrian military forces. The Council demands immediate justification for these obvious war crimes against a peaceful exploration fleet." Neil smiled in a way that somehow seemed more threatening than any show of military force. The expression was polite and professional, but it carried implications that made several alien representatives shift nervously in their seats. "War crimes, Counselor Zethmore. I find that accusation interesting, considering that Admiral Kethvar issued a direct ultimatum threatening human civilian populations, with what he called educational consequences." The human ambassador activated a holographic display that filled the center of the council chamber with detailed records. However, since the council has requested justification, I am prepared to provide complete documentation of every incident that has led to this policy change. The display showed incident after incident of alien harassment, theft, and violence against human assets over the past 3 years. Zephyrian warships attacking human cargo vessels and claiming they were conducting security inspections. Vorthak Empire forces seizing human mining equipment and calling it payment for territorial usage fees. Nereid collective bioships boarding human exploration vessels and stealing scientific data while calling it customs enforcement. We maintained detailed records of every violation of galactic law, every broken treaty, and every act of aggression committed against human interests. Neil continued as the evidence mounted on the displays. 1,247 separate incidents, all carefully documented with full sensor recordings and witness testimony. The chamber fell silent as alien representatives realized the scope of what they were seeing. Every species had assumed that humans were too weak to keep accurate records or too stupid to understand when they were being cheated. The truth was that humans had been building a legal case while secretly preparing for war. High Counselor Vex Prime tried to regain control of the situation. Even if these incidents occurred, they do not justify the use of prohibited weapon technologies. The destruction of Admiral Kethvar's fleet violated multiple galactic treaties regarding acceptable military force. Neil's smile became even more unsettling. Counselor Vex Prime, every weapon system used by human forces was developed using principles and technologies that alien species introduced to human space. Our gravitational manipulation devices are based on Vorthak mining equipment that your forces abandoned in our territory. Our phase shift generators use biomimetic technology derived from Nereid camouflage systems. Our quantum torpedoes incorporate power cores salvaged from Zephyrian ships that attacked our vessels. This revelation sent shockwaves through the council chamber. Alien species had been carelessly leaving advanced technology in human space for years, assuming that humans were too primitive to understand or reverse engineer it. Instead, human scientists had been systematically studying every piece of alien equipment they could find and improving it beyond the original designer's capabilities. Furthermore, Neil continued, every human weapon system was tested and approved by galactic regulatory agencies under standard technology assessment protocols. We submitted detailed technical specifications to the appropriate committees, who approved them for defensive use by junior species. The alien representatives looked at each other in confusion and growing panic. The galactic bureaucracy was so complex and divided that most species ignored the endless paperwork and approval processes. Humans had actually followed every rule and regulation, while the aliens who created those rules had not bothered to read what they were approving. Fleet Marshal Torex spoke up from his aquatic life support tank. Human Carter, these technical specifications you claim to have submitted show primitive fusion technology and basic kinetic weapons. There is no mention of gravitational manipulation or quantum phase systems. That is correct, Fleet Marshal. The technical specifications we submitted were accurate descriptions of our backup systems and emergency defensive capabilities. We were not required to disclose our primary weapon systems unless specifically asked, and no galactic authority ever requested comprehensive technical reviews. Neil activated another holographic display that showed the actual legal documentation. According to Galactic Regulation 774-B, junior species are only required to disclose weapon systems that exceed specified energy output limits. Since our primary weapons operate on principles not covered by existing regulations, no disclosure was required. The chamber erupted in angry voices from dozens of different species, all demanding explanations and making accusations. Neil waited patiently for the noise to die down before delivering his final message. The age of human diplomatic courtesy is now officially ended. For 3 years, we attempted to establish peaceful relationships through proper channels. We followed your laws, respected your traditions, and responded to aggression with restraint. This approach was consistently interpreted as weakness by species who apparently only respect superior firepower. Neil looked directly at each major power's representative as he continued. Therefore, humanity is implementing new policies for interstellar relations. We will continue to honor legitimate treaties with species who treat us as equals. However, any future aggression against human interests will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. The transmission ended with sensor readings from across human space that showed the true extent of humanity's military capabilities. The readings revealed over 2,000 combat vessels, orbital weapon platforms around every human world, and deep space monitoring stations that had been secretly tracking every major alien fleet movement for years. The galaxy's strongest powers had just learned that they had been living under human surveillance while threatening the most dangerous species any of them had ever encountered. 6 months after the destruction of the Zephyrian fleet, the entire galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Admiral Karen Peterson stood on the observation deck of the new flagship UES Determination, watching construction crews complete humanity's first official deep space fortress in what had once been Zephyrian territory. The massive station was not just a military installation, but a clear message to every species in the galaxy that humanity was no longer hiding its true power. The fortress was built using technology that made alien engineers weep with envy. Gravitational fields held the structure together without any physical supports, while quantum generators provided unlimited energy from controlled micro-black holes. Defense systems included weapons that could destroy entire fleets or simply disable them without causing permanent damage, depending on what the situation required. Captain Chris Evans, who now served as Peterson's strategic advisor, approached with the latest intelligence reports from across the galaxy. "Admiral, we have received formal alliance requests from 23 different species in just the past week. The Meridian Union is offering us complete access to their trade networks in exchange for protection from aggressive neighbors. Even some former Zephyrian client states are asking for human military assistance." Peterson reviewed the data on her tablet and marveled at how quickly the galaxy's power structure had collapsed. Species that had dominated through intimidation and fear found themselves completely helpless against an enemy that had been preparing for war while pretending to seek peace. The psychological impact of humanity's victory had been even more devastating than the military defeat itself. What about the major powers? Are they still claiming this was all some kind of trick? The Vorthak Empire is still insisting that humans must be using illegal alien technology stolen from other species. They refuse to believe that we developed these capabilities independently. However, their military commanders are much more realistic about the situation. Fleet Commander Zax Thule has requested a private meeting to discuss territorial boundaries. This was exactly what Peterson had expected. The alien leaders who made political decisions were often the last ones to accept reality, while their military officers understood the implications immediately. A species that could completely destroy the galaxy's strongest fleet without losing a single ship was not something that could be defeated through traditional warfare. Lieutenant Sarah Williams, monitoring galactic communications, reported the latest news from the intelligence networks. "Admiral, the Nereid Collective has withdrawn all of their bioships from human space and issued formal apologies for past territorial violations. They're offering to share their biological research data in exchange for guaranteed non-aggression agreements." The Nereid offer was particularly interesting because their biotechnology was genuinely advanced, even by human standards. However, Peterson knew that accepting their research data would create obligations that humanity might not want to take on. The galaxy was full of species who were willing to trade technology for protection, but most of them had very little to offer that humans actually needed. Dr. Helen Carter, now serving as Chief Technology Advisor, provided updates on the weapons development programs. "Admiral, our research teams have finished analyzing captured Vorthak crystal technology. Their defensive systems have a harmonic frequency vulnerability that we can exploit with modified sonic weapons. If they decide to test our resolve, we can shatter their entire fleet without using our more advanced systems." This was part of humanity's new strategy for dealing with alien powers. Instead of revealing all of their capabilities at once, human forces would demonstrate just enough superiority to achieve their objectives. The galaxy still had no idea how advanced human technology really was, and Peterson intended to keep it that way as long as possible. Captain Dan Miller, commanding the stealth destroyer Shadow Strike, transmitted a report from his patrol mission near the galactic core. "Admiral, we've detected massive fleet movements by 3 different species. It looks like the Corian Empire and the High-Tech Dominion are both moving ships toward human space, but they're staying just outside our declared territorial boundaries. The alien fleet movements were not unexpected. Several species were still convinced that humanity's victory over the Zephyrians had been a fluke, or the result of some kind of deception. They were probing human defenses and trying to determine whether humans could actually defend their new position as a galactic power. Captain Miller, maintain surveillance on those fleets but do not engage unless they cross into human territory. I want them to see our monitoring capabilities without realizing the full extent of our defensive systems. The communication system activated with an incoming priority message from Earth Command. President John Harrison appeared on the main screen looking tired but determined. Admiral Peterson, I wanted to inform you personally that we have reached a decision regarding the galactic situation. Peterson had been expecting this call. For months, Earth's political leadership had been debating how to handle humanity's new position in the galaxy. Some politicians wanted to use human military superiority to establish an empire, while others preferred to return to diplomatic solutions now that aliens would be forced to respect human power. Mr. President, what are your orders? We're going to make one final offer to the galaxy, Admiral. I want you to prepare a message that will be broadcast on all galactic communication frequencies. We're going to give every species a choice about how they want to relate to humanity in the future. Peterson understood the implications immediately. This would be humanity's last attempt at peaceful coexistence with alien species. If the galaxy rejected this final offer, then humanity would be forced to impose order. Through military superiority rather than diplomatic cooperation, the message that went out 12 hours later was transmitted simultaneously to every monitoring station, communication relay, and government center in known space. President Harrison's voice carried clearly across the galaxy as he delivered humanity's final diplomatic statement. To all civilizations of the galaxy, this is President John Harrison of the United Earth Federation. After careful consideration of recent events, humanity extends one final offer of genuine partnership to any species willing to engage in honest and respectful relations. The message continued as sensor data from human space showed the true extent of humanity's hidden military capabilities. We have no interest in conquest, domination, or the subjugation of other species. We simply refuse to accept harassment, theft, and violence disguised as diplomatic relations. For 3 years, we attempted to integrate into galactic civilization through peaceful means. We followed your laws, respected your customs, and responded to aggression with restraint and patience. This approach was consistently interpreted as weakness by species who apparently only understand superior force. The transmission showed detailed recordings of every incident where alien species had violated treaties, attacked human ships, or stolen human property. We documented every violation while developing the capabilities necessary to defend ourselves. We prepared for war while hoping for peace. To those species who wish to establish genuine partnerships based on mutual respect and equality, humanity offers friendship, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. We are willing to share technology, coordinate exploration efforts, and work together for the benefit of all civilizations. The final part of the message was delivered with the calm certainty of a species that had already proven its power. To those who still believe that humans can be bullied, threatened, or exploited, you are welcome to test that assumption. However, understand that we have spent 3 years learning everything about your capabilities, while hiding our own. We know your weaknesses, your tactical limitations, and your technological vulnerabilities. The age of human politeness is permanently ended. We tried to fit into your existing order as junior partners. You rejected that courtesy and chose to treat us as victims instead of equals. We are no longer victims and we are no longer polite. What we are now is honest about our capabilities and our intentions. The message concluded with a simple statement that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Choose wisely.